Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hathorn, student and staff recognition.
Hi, thank you. First up for student and staff recognition, we start with the high school. 2 teams earned awards at the Technology Student Association state competition under the direction of teacher Evan Clark. Juniors Jack Brown, Nicholas Labuda, Jeffrey Locke, Amish Sethi, and Justin Putman earned second place for website design and 7th for their video game design. The team competed at regionals, earning first for website design and second for video game design. So congratulations. Also, students from Pine-Richland earned a chance to participate in the World Odyssey of the Mind competition, and that'll take place in June. The 8th grade and 9th grade teams made up of 9th graders Nikolai Izot, Avia Nagrath, Luke Ridgway, Connor Foote, and 8th grader Prisha Dargan. They earned second place at the PA Odyssey State competition. The second team earned first place. The team is made up of 6th graders Dominic Dent, Sophia Dent, Noah Easel, and 7th grader Kimya Matte.
You need to go to a different room.
Is that me?
You need to go to a different room.
Someone might
Mrs.
have
Fox, if you could mute your mic,
Yeah.
and then in a little bit we'll ask you to unmute. Thank you.
Thank you. Both teams are participating in the world competition. Students were coached by parent and STEAM studio owner Sarah Easel, so congratulations. Several Spanish 3 high school students received silver medals in the Level 3 National Spanish exam. They include junior Allison Andrews, sophomores Katrina Knox and Colin Z. Bennett. The students scored higher than 87% of the students in the U.S. Senior Kayla Kamaranas, junior Dalma Roman, and sophomores Ella Gasecki, Charlotte Sander, and John Varghese all received honorable mentions, and that means they scored above 50% of the students, so pretty good. Students took the exam under the direction of Spanish teacher Kristen Huff. Pine-Richland students are also earning top awards in the National French exam. 8th grader Ian Bowen and 11th grader Van Koon and Garth Rooke earned gold medals for their performance on the exam. 11th graders Audrey DeCunder and Laura Krill both earned silver medals. Elisa Lazaro, 8th grader, and Isa Molnar, and 9th grader Chloe Chiang. 11th graders Matt Farmer and senior Jessica Zersky received honorable mentions for their scores and were ranked among the top region in the states. So the students took the exam under teacher Dawn Herbst. A.W. Beatty's 4-person carpentry and building construction team earned the national championship in the National Association of Home Builders Residential Construction Management competition. And that team was made up of 4 juniors in the area, including Pine-Richland High School junior Graydon Sheridan. And that's a big deal. This is the first national award that Beatty took home in that competition, so congratulations. High schooler senior Jacob Mahavke earned the Beatty Career Center Student of the Month Award, April through May. Jacob is studying carpentry as well, so congratulations. Also, senior Alexandra Catalano earned second place in the National Women in Construction Regional Design Drafting Competition. She earned a cash prize of $800, and runners-up, both seniors Megan Boljowski and Alexander Jacobs, earned $300 each under the direction of teacher Jeff Maple. Students placed second in an international business marketing competition, and the team included junior Miles Brown, seniors Anusha Rajiv, Lakshmi Nathan, Layla Seah, and Melina Harinis, and teacher sponsors were Kristen Huff and Dawn Herbst. As Pine-Richland High School musical students are bringing the Disney stage adaptation of High School Musical to the screen, they are also earning nominations in the Gene Kelly Awards program at the high school, and they include Best Actor by junior Logan Karishke, Best Supporting Actress by junior Katrina Hudak, and Best Supporting Actor senior Victor Williams, and that's going to be streamed virtually on May 29th at 7:30. The high school version of Disney High School Musical production will be streamed May 21st through June 4th. Plus, audience members will hit the books when the student at the middle school perform their Schoolhouse Rock Live Junior. That show is being streamed May 21st through June 9th, and you can visit pinerichland.org for all of those details on the musicals, how to stream them, and also the Gene Kelly Awards program. Looking at athletics, Pine-Richland High School athletes will compete in Whippeal Track Championships Wednesday at Slippery Rock. The high school girls 4x800 meter relay team is ranked number 1. Senior Danielle Bryan, who signed with Duke for track and field and who also studied law, has been named the 2021 Whippeal James Collins Scholar Athlete of the Year. The Pine-Richland High School varsity junior softball team, the girls will compete in the Whippeal playoffs on Thursday, and they'll take on Mount Lebanon. Boys lacrosse will take on Penn Trafford at home on May 18th in the first round of Whippeals. And the JV varsity lacrosse team is at Cannon McNeil if they didn't already compete. It started at 6, so we'll have to find out about that score. Dr. Pasquinelli will look that up for us. Pine-Richland High School athletes have been selected for the 2021 Women's National Lacrosse Tournament to be held May 29th through 30th in Baltimore. Students include Erica Hudock, Zoe Catris, and sophomores Mary Zubak and Carolyn Gentile. The varsity tennis team beat Penn Trafford 4-1 in the first round of Whippeals. On May 5th, they lost to Upper St. Clair in the second round. Senior Cole Spencer was named the inaugural recipient of the Willie Thrower Memorial Award. He also took first place in the All-Star Redemption Wrestling event hosted by PA Power in his weight category at State College. Also, we have some staff news. Director of Finance and Operational Services, Dana Kirk, has been granted a renewal status as a PA registered school business administrator for 4 years. To earn the renewal, a school business official must meet high personal, ethical, and professional standards established for the registration program. So congratulations to you. Also, we have high school biology teacher Darren Mizak as a finalist in the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. Only 3 state-level finalists were named, and a review board will select 1 science and 1 math teacher from each state, and we'll find out in August how he did. The Pittsburgh Pirates honored Eden Hall Upper Elementary art teacher Caitlin Trinetti via video call on May 13th. She's being named an all-star teacher. Pirate Charities and Principal Stephen Smith surprised her with the honor. She earned $1,000 for her classroom and will be recognized at 2 upcoming Pirate games. Tonight, we are recognizing retirees who are retiring at the end of 2021 school year. The retirees who are retiring this second half of the year incredibly logged more than 142 years while serving the district. Tonight, we're going to start with a reading specialist who began her career, we heard a little bit from her earlier, for 22 years at Pine-Richland. Donna Fox taught kindergarten and 5th grade at Hance Elementary School and 6th grade at Eden Hall Upper Elementary. She finishes her career out as a reading specialist at Richland Elementary. Some of her most memorable moments at Pine-Richland were when she taught in a modular during the Hance Elementary School renovations and when she helped with the Eden Hall Upper Elementary opening. In 2008, she earned her Teacher Excellence Award. She says she will miss the parents and the wonderful staff members who she's worked with over the years who helped her make light bulb moments with students each and every day. Her colleagues say she has an unwavering commitment to student excellence and success. She believes in kids and their potential for growth in reading and literacy and helps them believe in themselves. Over the past several years, Mrs. Fox's passion for teaching, reading, has led so many students not only learn how to read, but strengthen their skills to become lifelong readers. They say she is the teacher that has provided them constant encouragement, and she definitely gets children to learn to love reading. In retirement, she hopes to spend more time with her family, travel with her husband in their camper, and renovate their forever home. She thanks her children and husband for encouraging her throughout her teaching career. I will turn it over to Mrs. Fox if she'd like to say a few words.
Thank you all.
Well, you're welcome. Is there anything else you would like to say before I move on to our next retiree?
I'm good, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed working with you, Rachel, all these years.
You're welcome. Thank you. And we appreciate you logging on and joining us tonight.
Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome. Stay with us as we talk with a couple of other retirees. Our next retiree, Richland Elementary teacher Allison Monk, has dedicated her time to Pine-Richland for the last 30 years. Prior to arriving at PR, Mrs. Monk served as an ambassador to the Carnegie Science Center. She served as an elementary science department chair her first year at Pine-Richland in 1991. In 1992, she presented hands-on, minds-on science at the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development Regional Conference. From 94 to 2000, Mrs. Monk created an in-district workshop and professional book studies with staff. In 97, she was a finalist in the Teacher Excellence Awards program. In 2016, she was named a finalist in the PA Teacher of the Year program. And from 2002 to 2005, she served as an induction instructor for Allegheny Intermediate Unit. And during the stretch from 2014 to 2019, Mrs. Monk served on the ELA Academic Leadership Council. She says over the past 30 years, she has witnessed and been part of Pine-Richland District's transformation from a small country school district to a premier, highly respected district. Mrs. Monk says that through the dedication of the staff, visionary leaders, and supportive families, PR continues to be a wonderful learning community, and she will miss her students and colleagues. In turn, her colleagues say she is a true lifelong learner. In her final year, she took on the challenge of being fully virtual second grade teacher. Throughout the year, she worked tirelessly to ensure her students received a high-quality, rigorous education while learning new skills to make that possible. She became a mentor for a new teammate and approached every challenge with positive attitude. Her advocacy for all students was inspiring, and she is planning on taking her love for helping others into retirement. After she retires, her and her husband plan to go on a 15-day cruise around New Zealand and Australia. In the meantime, she plans to continue to write educational resources and volunteer more in her community and church. Both of her children are Pine-Richland graduates. So with that, Mrs. Monk, I'm turning it over to you to see if you'd like to say a few words.
Well, thank you, Ma. A little choked up. It has been a pleasure and an honor to work for this district. As Rachel had read, when I first got hired here in 91, people would say, Pine-Richland isn't the place you want to be. You don't want to go there. But it was starting to grow. They brought in public water and public sewage, and we started turning Treesdale into a housing plan instead of an orchard. And through this constant development, I've watched all 3 elementary buildings be renovated. We brought on more and more staff, and it has been an honor to be a part of that growth. And I know you guys are in great hands, and I can't wait to see and hear more about Pine-Richland in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. So Pine-Richland wasn't our next retiree's only stop in his 27-year career. In addition to Pennsylvania, French teacher Tom Joyce taught in Massachusetts, Arizona, China, Ukraine, and Russia. He began his teaching career in 1981 at the Beverly School District in Massachusetts. After that, he taught English in China from 1989 to 1990. He then taught English at the Institute of Foreign Languages in Kiev from 92 to 93. In 94, Mr. Joyce joined Pine-Richland School District. During the summers of 1998, 99, and 2000, he was an administrator for Educational Services International, where he directed the Summer English Institute in the St. Petersburg region of Russia. Mr. Joyce served as a class sponsor for 7 years at Pine-Richland High School. He's also worked for 3 years with Ashland Bogats as a head of student government. He has taken students to France 11 times. Mr. Joyce received a Bachelor of Arts from Grove City College and a Master of Arts from Gordon University and from Duquesne University, and completed a Fulbright study in Moscow, Russia in 1997. His favorite moment at Pine-Richland was when his advanced placement class, along with their parents, organized a surprise 50th birthday party for him. He says he's enjoyed having students in class several years in a row and really miss getting to know them. In turn, those who know him best say he was well loved by students who he captivates daily by his most energizing personality and lively costumes and lessons. In retirement, Mr. Joyce plans to volunteer for mission trips, work on his garden, work on his house, and travel some more. So, Mr. Joyce, I'm turning it over to you.
Well, Rachel, thank you. It's been a great joy to work with the students over 27 years at Pine-Richland. I've worked with outstanding students, and I am very grateful and blessed by that. So thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you for joining us. And each of our retirees, we have a small gift for you, and we will get that to you very soon. Want to congratulate all of you, and we want to thank our retirees like high school teacher John Dolphin, Hans Elementary teacher Catherine Howman, Wexford paraprofessional Patricia Healy. On behalf of the district and school board, we share our appreciation for each retiree who has dedicated his or her time to serve the students of Pine-Richland School District. And you can see a little collage of some of the paraeducators and teachers in action there. And you can visit also board docs for bios of each retiree. So thank you again for joining us.
Takeaway. I don't think we can shake your hand, but we can certainly
Yeah.
give you. Great job, Rachel, and great job to all of you on successfully reaching retirement, particularly in your careers. I have to go back, Rachel, on the student recognition. There is so much here. Athletics, musical, academics, but what really stands out, we were just talking about Greg, is the first place nationally for Justin Graydon Shuren and his team at Beatty in the carpentry and building construction competition. It's just such a standout recognition on such a grand scale, just tremendous. So wanted to highlight that one more time. Next, we'll move to recognition of visitors.
I wanted to make reference before we get started to Board Policy 903, which is titled Public Participation in Board Meetings. The board recognizes the value to school governance of public comment on educational issues and the importance of involving members of the public in board meetings. The board also recognizes its responsibility for proper governance of the district and the need to conduct its meetings in an orderly and efficient manner. To that end, each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration. The portion of the meeting during which the public is invited to speak may be limited to 60 minutes. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually. And finally, the presiding officer may interrupt or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant.
Okay, our first speaker tonight is John Corey. Mr. Stobener, if you could give him a call. Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Hi, Mr. Corey, you're on with the board.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
This is John Corey. I live at 306 North Wind Court. I've been talking to the board for a good bit now. I've come in the past 4 or 5 meetings just asking for help because I didn't understand the process that has been used at times. And I understand that you have a process and you're not going to change it. So I have a couple questions for you. I recently learned that there are 4 Department of Education Office of Civil Rights investigations going on, federal investigations into this district. One of those is for sexual violence. One of those is around sexual violence. It's what's listed on the website. I don't know if you guys even know that. As I started looking at some of the information that I was finding, in researching some of these topics, I started realizing that whatever started that process, whatever started that investigation, I'm willing to bet was around process. I don't know what's going to come of that, and I'm not going to pretend to know. But I'm willing to bet that whatever it is was started by a process someone didn't like. I didn't like the process that was utilized to interview kids during the investigation into the football program. I sent a letter to the district asking you guys not to interview my kids without me being present. I think a lot of families probably did. And I would think for a school board, that's not something any of us want. We don't want families having to write letters about interviewing our kids. I don't like that process. I didn't like the process of how the investigation was run, how we're not going to involve parents at all in any of that. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand why we were doing that. And that's what I've spoke about the last 2 or 3 times I've called. The process to present information to the school board. You know, presenting this information verbally to the school board, I don't agree with that process either. You know, I called the district a couple of times after coaches were fired and the administration met with the players. I called because I didn't like what happened with my son, and no one called me back about any of that. And I can't imagine any of us are okay with that process either. I imagine you guys wouldn't be if they wouldn't call you back about your kids. So I understand that this process is what it is, right? So we are here and not solving anything tonight by any of this. So what I've kind of realized is tomorrow's the election, and we're going to find out tomorrow how this district feels about the processes that are being used. I don't think your jobs are easy, guys. I don't. I think they're pretty hard, and you touched on some very important topics tonight. But the processes used in the buildings are not okay. They're not okay with a bunch of people. I wish you luck with the rest of your meeting.
Our next speaker is Josh Crawford. Mr. Stobener. Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Hi, you're on with the board.
Thank you. First, quick shout out to Mr. Dolphin. Congratulations on your deserved retirement. So I spoke to this board last month along with many other community members. We've been shouting from the rooftops about your error in judgment on Coach K. And what did you do in response? You came out with a pure hit piece, attacking this man's very character. Either your arrogance or immaturity drove you to this. I can't figure out which. There is a buzz around the community. Tomorrow, May 18th, God willing, will be a day of reckoning. It won't be the official day where we get to kick you out, but it's a great first step. I know it burns a few of you to the core that Coach K has this kind of support, because when you're all gone, we won't shed a tear. We'll even help you pack your bags. Ask anyone who the last superintendent was, and very few will know. You are disposable. You on the board are so far out of touch with this community. One of you was last meeting whined that Coach K should call off the attacks. This was one of the most hilarious things that I've ever heard. Do you actually think Coach K is leading this revolt? Let me educate you all on something, and it'll be a very hard lesson for some of you. This outrage is not organized. It is not centralized. It is a community, your community, that is outraged at you. The 9 of you simply can't or won't see that the entire community disagrees with the decision of this board and the NA Confederation within it, starting with Mr. Miller. Speaking of the NA Confederation, PR has hundreds of athletic events each year, yet there are only issues with one school.
Mr. Crawford.
Yes.
Take your tone down a notch. It's personal.
I'm trying to get through the 3 minutes.
Take your tone down.
I'm just going quickly. Okay. We don't have problems with Seneca Valley, Butler, North Hills, or even Central Catholic. The only school that causes on and off the field issues is North Allegheny, and it just so happens to be your former employer. Your spouses work there, former colleagues, friends,
Mr.
and neighbors.
Crawford.
You should be yes.
Your comments are personally directed and have been for the duration of that call. They're not addressing any issue before the school board. Can we move to the next caller, Ms. Williams?
Next caller is Rick Reckenburg. Mr. Stobener. Mr. Reckenburg?
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Reckenburg. You're on with the board.
Good evening. My name is Rick Reckenburg, and like you, I've served the Pine-Richland and local communities through various nonprofit organizations. Over the past 20 years, I've coached youth basketball and football, served as an adult leader in scouting, organized club schools, and most recently volunteered as the Pine-Richland Touchdown Club president for the 2019 and 2020 seasons. I tell you all of this so you understand that I'm well aware of how a well-organized, children-focused organization operates and how it benefits the children. I've asked to speak to you tonight to share with you that Eric Kasparovich runs such a program here at Pine-Richland High School. I've witnessed it firsthand, and my son and many others have greatly benefited from the positive mentoring that he's received from Coach K and his dedicated staff. Eric's first concern has always been and will always be for the physical, mental, and emotional safety and well-being of each of his players. I saw this as a touchdown club president when he strictly enforced the heat acclimation and concussion protocol, when we explored mouthpieces that could measure force vectors, and we even ordered helmets for the players and the linebackers to reduce their reoccurring head blows. Hazing, rites of passage, intimidation. I and the rest of the PR football community were and still shocked at the vague allegations that have been laid out against our football coaching staff. None of these are the PR way and have never been part of the outstanding football program that Coach K and his staff implemented or part of some traditions that the players carry out. From one who has been all in on the program for many years, I can tell you they didn't happen, period. The same Dr. Miller who presented these allegations to you is the same one who recently informed the district in a letter that the organizers have recently been coordinating with Eric. As one of those organizers, I can tell you that I've never coordinated with Eric about any of the rallies, including the one we had tonight. If Dr. Miller was wrong about our rallies, it kind of makes you wonder what else he could be wrong about. I ask you to reinstate Eric Kasparovich and his staff as our football coaches. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you, Mr. Reckenburg. Our next caller is Jim Ellenberger. Mr. Stobener. Mr. Ellenberger? Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Ellenberger, you're on with the board.
Oh, thank you. Good evening. This is Jim Ellenberger. I'm grateful for the opportunity to express my views to the board regarding termination of Eric Kasparovich. I will attempt to be respectful to your 3 minutes. If you can bear with me, I'd appreciate it. I've been a resident of PR for 17 years, and my 4 children are all graduates. I don't really have a personal relationship with any of the parties involved in this coaching change issue. I am passionate about what I believe to be an undeserved personal attack on a good man and a good coach. My interpretation of the most recent message conveyed by the superintendent is that the ridiculous hazing accusations have been proven as untruths, and nobody in the current administration apparently reported hazing issues to the police regarding the football program, according to the chief of police. The superintendent went on to say there were other issues for the terminations, miscellaneous football problems, and a bad attitude at the meeting. And I just, what I've come to learn about that is the other problems were relatively minor. Other teams of PR have experienced similar situations without a resulting termination of the coach. I also don't find it surprising, although Eric has apologized profusely in a public forum, that someone would show up at a meeting with a frustrated attitude when they have been directly informed by the outgoing AD, and before any investigation occurred, that the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, quote, hate him and want him to be fired. I really feel the residents of Pine-Richland feel there's been a significant injustice here regarding termination. Many people have the feeling it's perpetrated by an administration which is disappointed / jealous / angered that PR has become more known for the football team than the school's academics. This really isn't the fault of the head football coach. striving to be both, being number one in both sports and academics are not mutually exclusive goals, in my opinion. It's been an endless list of people spoken up to defend Eric as a good person and a good coach, someone who cares deeply about the kids both on and off the field. Ex-players, current players, parents, coaches, opponents, coaches, sports writers, WPL representatives, his neighbors, and even professional athletes and coaches have spoken so highly of Eric as a coach and a man. I have not seen or heard one person outside the administration or board who has said anything negative about Eric or has come out to say that they agree with the decision to terminate him. I would think that would give you pause, especially in our world of social media now. The board president recently said they have a lot of support from people who are silent, but there are a number of places in social media where you can post anonymously, and I still haven't seen anything negative or any support.
Mr. Ellenberger, if you
Yeah.
could sum up, we have 5 seconds. Thank you.
5 seconds. Okay, I'll sum up. In my opinion, ego on the part of the president, superintendent, assistant superintendent, and the board president significantly in the decision to terminate Eric. In life and business, decisions based on these influences are often regrettable. They have been for me. For all the reasons above, in addition to Eric's significant olive branch reach out, I'm respectfully asking you to reconsider your decision to reinstate Eric and his coaching staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ellenberger. Our next speaker is Beth Smallwood. Mr. Stobener. Hello, Ms. Smallwood.
Yes.
Hi, you're on with the board.
Hi, my name is Beth Smallwood. I have 4 kids, 2 of which graduated from Pine-Richland, and the other 2 will be in high school next year. I will not make the mistake of talking about anyone's past this time, but as Mr. DiTullio was allotted 14 minutes of uninterrupted time during the last meeting to state his concerns and opinions, I would think I should be heard as well, even though it may not be what you want to hear. And this is not about the past, but things that continue to this present day. I am stuck on some things that Mr. DiTullio said, particularly that there is no reason Mr. Lyons should not continue on as school board president, and that in fact Coach should have been let go. That is his opinion, and clearly there are hundreds of people who have the exact opposite opinion. Mr. DiTullio said he agreed with the decision to let Coach go, that it was time for a change in the height of his career, which in my opinion is secondary here. So if you're going to decide to get rid of a man who has done none of the above, a man who has hundreds of supporters and testimonies of both parents and children describing all the honorable characteristics that he has instilled in his players over the years, yet you all choose to make the change with him, yet turn a blind eye to someone who has erratic behaviors that continue on the present board.
Ms. Smallwood, the personal comments during your 3 minutes are inappropriate.
Our next speaker is Joe Casario. Mr. Casario? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, Mr. Casario, you're on with the phone, or with the board.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for taking my call. Let me quote you, Dr. Miller, from your email. Pine-Richland School District finds itself in an unfortunate situation that has divided our community. Then you go on to say that due to a great deal of misinformation, and no, I don't think that it's misinformation that got us into this unfortunate situation. I think it's you and the school board president and the board. But issues with Coach K that his supporters have tried to minimize. How about we aren't just his supporters, but supporters of the football program and the young men that have been taught right and wrong by Coach K and his staff. He's refused to take responsibility and ownership for aspects of the football program. Sounds like you may be projecting a little bit, Dr. Miller. When have you or the school board president taken responsibility and ownership for your decisions, your actions, or even discussing 5 days of in-person education? I mean, when you won't even do that, I mean, is that not a situation that deserves some kind of discussion about your actions? Are you trying to figure out how we could have a graduation last year when Mars Area School District did it? They had it. You guys didn't do it. Did we ever hear any kind of responsibility for those actions? How about your actions of not allowing parents to watch their boys play football outside? How about forcing our basketball players to wear masks during games when other school districts did not? Did you take ownership for those decisions? These are at best an extremely and against scientific data cautious approach. Or at worst, were they an ego-driven, we know more than everyone else?
Mr. Casario, you mentioned certain policies. That's fine. The personal attacks are inappropriate by board policy and are not germane to the business of the board. You got one warning.
I didn't attack anybody. I mean, I do have a First Amendment right. You discussed bullying that coach permitted. It's like the bullying tactics that were used against football parents to create a culture of fear that if a parent watched the game outside, that the game would be canceled. What kind of ramifications would that have to, say, a young man looking for a scholarship, or maybe to get into college? What kind of ramifications do this have? And unlike the coach who has led young men and led by example in good deeds, here's an example of what you're teaching the thousands of young men and women at our school district.
Mr. Casario, you have 20 seconds.
When Coach K admitted that his conduct was not at the level of professionalism that he would expect, you used it against him. You published it in a community email. How's that an example of leadership? I just can only hope that the voters show you guys the door soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casario. That's our last speaker.
Item 1.04, correspondence, Ms. Williams.
Maria Hudak emailed the board regarding girls lacrosse. The following people emailed the board regarding football: Ryan Young, Cindy Sermonera, Mark Mill, Thomas Mooney, Amy Amend, Denise Duby-Chiaco, Dawn McLean, Antonio Aiello, Cindy and Eric Boyd, Ryan Lenz, Sarah Argiro, Chuck Berry, Ken Horace, Todd Yoakum, Leon Donovan, Rick Reckenburg, Heidi Donovan, Paul Gelly, Jane Gocius, Jamie Pillar, Carol Foglio, Christine Lenz, Kevin Brown, Tom Demp, Lori Fenton, Michael Kuhn, Connor Lentz, Wendy Masick, Cindy Jackson, Greg Lazaro, Mark Kearns, Kevin Woodward, Veronica Mellis, Connor DiNapoli, Julia Taylor, Angel Waddle, Tom Capanella. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Item 1.05 is a motion to approve the meeting minutes for our planning meeting as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now I'll turn it over to Dr. Miller to address the Transforming the Future strategic plan.
I'll actually take that one for you. So,
Awesome, thank you.
Transforming the Future, last time we spoke, we were heading into a subcommittee meeting on May 10th where we had representatives from across our staff come together to think through the how, because we knew that we had an established why for why we need to offer the virtual model coming into next year, but we wanted to really look at the course requests and some of the preliminary interest data that we had from the students. And we have drafted some concepts that we then took on May 12th to our third Transforming the Future Leadership Council. All of that will be summarized this week and sent out to the community to give a little bit of background in terms of what that model will look like so that we can make some informed decisions as we head into June. We will be asking families to make their binding selections in June on a survey for their children to either participate 100% virtually or fully in person in our modified version, which will be enhanced through everything that we've learned over the last year. And to support that, we will be offering a question and answer session that we will be collecting questions in advance and then taking them throughout the meeting via an electronic form so that we can respond to any lingering ideas and questions that are out there as parents are looking forward to making that decision. So more to come, but we've had a lot of great work and a lot of excellent thinking and brainpower creatively to be able to offer this to our students as we move forward.
That was a pretty condensed version of what I know has been hours and hours of work and planning already into this, into the implications on workforce, curriculum, age-appropriate delivery format. So thank you so much. Item 3.01 is a consent agenda. Before I move to approve it, does any board member wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda as listed? Seeing how there's none, I move to approve the consent agenda items 3.02 through 3.16 below.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Kashani, Finance.
Yes, sir. Item 4.01. Motion to approve the financial reports dated March 31st, 2021, and accounts payable dated May 17th, 2021, in the amount of $641,611.69, and paid accounts for April, May in the amount of $2,781,902.68 as listed.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 4.02. Motion to approve the budget transfers in the amount of $101,029 as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 4.03. Motion to approve the A.W. Beatty Career Center budget for the 2021-2022 school year as set forth in the proposed budget dated April 22nd, 2021, totaling $10,342,641.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Anything from the representative or Christine on budget?
Well, the budget is composed of 9 sending school districts, and the average enrollment in the last 5 years is the basis of calculating the share of the school district. And it's in total, the operating budget increased by $25,000 to the last year. So this is just small increase, and they have been applying for a lot of grants and using this to invest in technology and equipment, and they also got a lot of donations from local businesses. So I think they are doing an excellent job with what they have, and they will be modernizing the building, right?
Yes.
There's the
Yeah.
nurse.
Yeah, they're expanding some of their programs, the veterinary science, the sports medicine and rehab and therapy program, and also their robotics that they have expanded that area. And they also, and not just donations, but grants. They're really very good. They've actually an individual who's devoted to writing grants, so they do get a lot of income from grants to support a lot of it's the technology in the program. So, and they're also doing a lot of what's happening is because they're trying to keep up to date with the current trends in technology and in the workforce. So.
Excellent. Thank you, guys.
There's about 60 students, I think, that Pine-Richland is sending, like this 5-year moving average. And our
Right.
share increased just by 6,000 compared to last year, so.
Right, and this year, or I'm sorry, going into the next school year, they've got about like 850 students enrolled. It's been climbing every year.
For
Yeah.
some programs right now.
Right,
So
and that
that's
goes,
really
it changes over the summertime, and then it actually decreases through the school year a little bit as students decide, do they like the program or not, or is it not fitting into their schedule, or, but overall, the enrollment has been increasing over the last several years, in general, from all the 9 sending schools or school districts.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries, and now is a great time
I was
to
just gonna
take out
Remind everybody.
your individual board member ballot. There will be paperwork. And assign your signature right now and return them to your green folder for Ms. Williams after the meeting. Fun little thing we have to do for Beatty every year. Mr. DiTullio, Buildings and Grounds.
Item 5.01 is a Buildings and Grounds update on summer projects. So, Mr. Zimmerman.
Yeah, hello, everyone. The Buildings and Grounds summer update will be prepared for the next meeting. We've got a lot of the consent agenda that was just approved is going to be the big projects for the summer. They include 2 libraries, one at the high school, one at the middle school, they're both going to be upgraded with new carpeting, new painting, and new furniture. We're also looking at getting the high school and middle school paving jobs completed this summer. Those quotes are still in process right now. And along with that, we are also going to do some athletic projects, including the tennis courts. There'll be a complete resurfacing and overlay there. So those courts will be in brand new condition for the fall season, for the girls' season when it starts up. And also we'll be working on the pool. So the pool has a new scoreboard that will be installed, new timing equipment. There'll also be some new judging equipment for the diving, and some split clocks for them to practice and get better at getting their times down. So in addition to that, we'll also be redoing the locker rooms in the pool area as well. The boys and girls locker room will get new flooring, new painting, and it'll just be refreshed in general. So we've got a lot of projects that are going on. Last summer, we focused a lot on Field 6. This summer is going to be a lot of small projects. And also we're going to be doing some carpeting projects at the high school in phase 2. We did phase 1 last year. It turned out really well. So carpeting, painting in the horseshoe area of the high school.
Just want to say thanks, and Mr. Zimmerman's on vacation right now. Correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, so he wanted to join and just provide the update, so you look relaxed.
Till about 10 minutes ago you did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Any discussion on summer projects, anyone? All right. Item 5.02 and 5.03, I'm going to recommend for a consent agenda, and as Mr. Zimmerman mentioned, they are 5.02 is a motion that's going to be approved at the June planning meeting, and it will be for concrete repairs at the high school, stadium, and middle school, and then 5.03 are similar repairs on concrete and paving at Wexford Elementary. Again, costs will be applied, and I would recommend a consent agenda unless something pops up that somebody wants pulled out.
Sounds good, Greg. Thank you. 6.01, strategic plan update. Dr. Miller.
Sure. Thank you. Mr. Stobener, if you could pull up slide 8. the data is all here updated like we've done in the past, but just wanted to point out one thing. So last week there was an announcement, and it sort of had some different responses around happening in terms of what does this mean, and it was around masking and face coverings. Again, over the Friday afternoon and over the weekend, as you see in the second bullet, all of the agencies, CDC, PDE, PA Department of Health, Allegheny County Health Department, and we also reached out to our Healthcare Leadership Council subject matter experts around this. They're all recommending we keep doing exactly what we're doing through the end of this year, the 2021 school year. Over the summer, a lot will continue to emerge. And so we'll have a much better idea of what the fall might look like and be like. But again, with respect to masking, all of the recommendations, including ours, is just keep doing what we're doing, how we're doing it, for the next 15 and a half days, which is this school year.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Any discussion?
Obviously, I don't necessarily agree. Just make that stated. That's all I think I have to say.
I'm just going to put it out there that 12 to 15-year-olds are not vaccinated yet, and I think I fully support maintaining the mitigation processes until people are vaccinated.
That's the reason, again, just to be clear, that's one of the reasons why all of those agencies, again, CDC, PA Department of Health, PDE, Allegheny County Health Department, plus 7 of the experts that live in the Pine-Richland School District community who participate in 16 meetings plus additional communications. The 12 to 15 age group, which was recently approved for the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, will not be fully vaccinated until after the school year ends. And it looks like September is when those young 11 and younger, when that may begin to happen. But even the older kids, 16 and older, we only have about 15 students right now in the entire Pine-Richland School District who are, quote, fully vaccinated, end quote. We know that to mean 2 weeks after their final dose. If it was a single dose through the Johnson & Johnson or 2 doses through Moderna or Pfizer, that's what that means. So again, it does not really have an impact day to day on anything that we're doing relative to the vaccine.
Student Services, Mrs. Swope.
Thank you. I have only one action item and a very pleasant one. Motion to accept, in accordance with Board Policy Number 702 and with sincere gratitude to the Wexford Elementary School PDO, a donation for a cedar pavilion and valued at a total cost of $19,000.
Second.
Any discussion? With our sincere gratitude, all those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries, and thank you so much. That is going to be a beautiful addition to that building and a great resource. Dr. Mihalik, Staff Services.
Thank you. Item 8.01 is a motion to approve the personnel and supplementals as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just want to say that this is an example of the administration really thinking ahead and already anticipating changes that need to happen. It's very thoughtful. It shows advanced process, and appreciate all the work that you're doing to get this going early. I know there will be more adjustments, but getting a lot of it done now really helps.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8.02 is a motion to approve the list of employees for the extended school year for the summer of 2021 as attached.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8.03 is a motion to approve the sabbatical as listed.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8.04 is a motion to approve the attached agreement with Frontline Education to provide recruiting onboarding software at a cost of $11,543.51.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes? Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8.05 is a motion to approve the third and final reading of miscellaneous policies 103.1, 104, 150, 218.3, 246, 247, 249, 317.1, and 824 as listed below and attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Mr. Moy.
Item 9.01 is a motion to approve the submission of an application for the Flexible Instruction Day program as attached.
I can color in a little bit of information there. So we did pepper this in.
Do I second that? Second. Go ahead.
It's been seconded.
All right, officially, thank you. We just wanted to share with you, we had mentioned previously in the last Transforming the Future update that we were also thinking about the future in terms of the need for flexible instruction if and when we have either weather conditions, another pandemic, let's hope certainly not, or any other types of emergency situations in which we would not be allowed or able to have the students here on site for some reason. So this application, which hopefully we will approve and vote on this evening, will allow us then for the next 3 years to utilize this approved program. It would allow us to have students log in after 2 hours of their day has started. So initially they would do some asynchronous work. Teachers would be setting up the links and things they would need for the rest of the day for instruction. All the work in the morning would lead into the rest of the synchronous instruction for the modified, essentially like a 2-hour delay schedule. So it's similar to what we had put into place in this 2021 school year for snow days. So that's what we're looking at. So with your approval, then we're able to submit that officially to the state and seek their approval as well. Thanks.
Fantastic. Great way to leverage the skills that we've learned. So, Any other discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion carries.
And then item 9.02 is a informational item, the award bid for liquid propane gas, commodity storage and delivery services. We're just waiting for some more bids and pushing it forward to the next meeting.
Thanks, Matt. Item 10.01 is a motion to approve Mark Kashani as board treasurer effective July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2012. 2022. I read anything Barb puts in front of me.
Second.
It's like Back to the Future.
Mark, thank you for your service and your willingness to continue to serve. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Peter.
All those in favor? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10.02 is a motion to reappoint Mrs. Barbara Williams as school board secretary to a 4-year term in accordance with section 404 of the Pennsylvania School Code of 1949, and Mr. Brian Glickman to serve as backup in the school board secretary position.
Second.
And Barb is our 10 plus 1, our plus 1. So we only get to do this every 4 years, unfortunately. We'd love to be reminded how critical you are to us more often, but we all know it. So thank you for all you do for us.
It's actually a 1 plus 10, Peter. 1 plus 10.
1.
I think the important thing we got to talk about, though, is if Barb were to miss a board retreat, could Mr. Glickman fill in on the food front? That's the critical. Can you cook? Barb, you can't take retreats off.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10.03 is a motion to approve the PSBA Policy Maintenance Program Participation Agreement as attached.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10.04 is a review and reminder of the joint governance meeting. Topic was diversity, equity, and inclusion that took place an hour before this regular meeting. In terms of a summary, there are slides which will get to that content. What I would just sort of want to capture is our willingness to discuss, our willingness to explore discomfort. There was some discomfort. Our willingness to not have to end with closure. We didn't. It's an hour. This isn't an hour-long process. And our willingness to engage. So this is a topic area that is new for most of us, new for many in the community, and frankly, long overdue for a lot of others in the community. So it's interesting to explore. It takes a very open mind and willingness to engage, and I thank everyone for their participation there. Where we left it definitely requires revisiting in the nearer future. This isn't something I think needs to be, thrown out until September to try to have that conversation. So I don't know that we need to decide that when and where right now, but I want to make sure that we get back to there and start right in. I think there's real information in the slides that we didn't get to, and that's okay because I think the conversation was probably more important.
And the administration also said that the feedback that we gave was useful, and they can make some adjustments and so on for us to continue the discussion later. So it wasn't a fruitless conversation, or there was some, not just benefit, but takeaways from it that they could act on.
Yeah, I would add, on June 7th, which is our next meeting, we may have some time, even in that hour block before we begin. So we have we have a governance meeting around transition and transformation, but it's very possible, based on the small number of students that we anticipate in the fully virtual program and how that goes, we might be able to grab 30 minutes or so out of that hour to focus on DEI discussion.
If I could just real quick, I think it's worth noting progress that we've made with this initiative as well. We really started in the summertime, but one of the things we shared are the number of people that are engaged in this, not just in this room, but beyond this room in terms of community and students and staff. So the expansion, the awareness, we're proud of that. We know we have years and years to grow and continue to improve, but we've made some significant leaps this year, and we'll continue to do so. Dr. Justice shared a number of the in-depth program review recommendations that are directly linked to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the progress that we've made that will change experiences for kids in the appropriate step and along this journey. So we've made some modifications to our annual survey that families and students will see to capture some different perspectives around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I think it's just worth, again, taking a couple minutes of, number one, of appreciation for the engagement from a large group of people and the progress that we've made, with the understanding that we've got a lot of work to do still.
Thank you, Dr. Pasquinelli. Item 10.05 is a public information item to note a change in time for the June 21st board meeting. We do not have a committee meeting scheduled or joint governance meeting scheduled, so we want to move the planning meeting time to 6 p.m. on the 21st.
Peter, I think that was a meeting I had already mentioned. I'll be out of town, but I can attend virtually. That time will make it harder for me to do, but I'll still plan to do it.
That's a great segue to the next topic, which is how we conduct our meetings, logistics and mechanics. We're gonna use words here so we know what we're saying. So this meeting is a hybrid because we do have participation externally in form of the public and in form of staff via virtually. but we are in person. So we'll kind of call that a hybrid. One of the reasons that we have it as a hybrid and don't have public in here is because of rules around social distancing. Those rules are changing. The landscape is evolving. That's one thing to recognize. The other component to recognize is some of the advantages that the virtual and hybrid meeting have given us. Like, boy, I mean, we all remember just 18 months ago saying, I'm going to be out of the area and, I'll just dial into the meeting. It was more or less like, well, do you have 5 other board members? Because, it was very hard to see, hear, and be heard. And now we're able to have people participating through, a variety of means, from their own offices, from the classroom, from home, and we can see and hear them. The community, in turn, is participating in our meetings and has throughout COVID, since we've been in the hybrid model and the fully virtual model, at numbers that we haven't seen before as well. Even when there's not a hot button issue, I have to say, the numbers bear this out. If anything, our hybrid model, and this is what, I want to point out to everyone, has actually expanded access to our board meetings. That said, we can contemplate moving our hybrid into some in person. We would struggle to be able to come up with the exact number in this room. We haven't really reconfigured this room, for instance, back to the way we were pre-COVID. I remember Don was always, I was always sort of shoving, see how I spread out a little. So it's great. I mean, I know Don sat a lot closer. I don't remember how many of us, or how fewer desks. Don sat closer, some of you were up here. We had a lot more audience chairs. So what we do around that, these are real, I'm not, trivializing it. These are real logistical concerns. Obviously, for any number over, I don't know what, a dozen, 2 dozen, this room doesn't work anymore. So auditorium is often suggested. When we move to the auditorium or another space here, we start to lose certain things. Visually, we lose each other in eyesight. So this meeting is about public participation, but it's also about doing the business of the board. We may also lose some of the great connections we have to those attending virtually. And I really want to call out Sean and Steve. It's tremendous. It's seamless for us. We hear everyone and see everyone, and they hear and see us. And when we pop that into a large auditorium, there's probably going to be some adjustments, and that may not be the case. We may be in a situation where having a large number of attendees means you can't just pick up the phone and dial in, or maybe you can only stream it. So giving some pros and cons, wanted to throw it open to discussion so we can look toward the future.
I'd also like to say that, other impacts are on the school district itself, or on the maintenance or the janitorial staff, custodial staff, in having to set up this if it's in the auditorium, having to set up tables and chairs and break it down. Is there cleaning that's going to have to go on with that, with having everyone in there? So it's adding an extra, because we don't have a dedicated space to the meetings here, so it just adds a little bit more of a burden on the district. It may be minimal, but still it's just a consideration. I mean, just something to, just in the back of your mind, not huge. So I'm not against it, I'm just saying that's just another thing that it impacts.
I guess, we expect the restrictions to be peeled away as time goes by. So moving back to a forum where we can meet face-to-face with people is a good thing. I mean, I miss people being able to come in, stand at a podium, and share their thoughts. Really, the questions are the logistics about the communication infrastructure if we did move to a space like the auditorium. We have microphones that work here, video cameras, and so on. What does it mean to try to have a meeting like that? If this equipment or some equipment that's similar would need to be set up there for a meeting like that. We did have a remote meeting once at Beatty, right, and that worked very well. But to my knowledge, it's the only time that we
Right, and
did
there's,
that.
and
Yeah.
they're set up for that as
Yes,
well. That's where we
right.
normally have our board meetings, so that's like a very normal
Right.
space for them, for that to
Mhm.
occur.
In the last 8 years, we've probably had 10 meetings in the auditorium over that time that I can recall. I would say that with the skill and knowledge of team members, this can be replicated. It just can't be replicated at the last minute. So if a decision's being made to go into the auditorium, the earlier that decision is made, the better it allows all the planning and coordination to take place, and then they can make it happen. Typically, we've done that based upon a clear known volume of people.
I'm obviously fully in favor of in-person. I think we're a board elected by the community, and the community has every right to be involved in the board meetings. I do like the virtual option, especially as a board member for the reasons that Peter stated. When we're out of town, we still want to be part of the board meetings. When you were on the phone, you really weren't a part. But as far as board meetings go, I mean, I would even move that if we had to for the short duration until we could get a better number in here, that we just make them in the auditorium. And Matt, it's not as comfortable. I mean, when you're in those, you do lose some of that intimacy that you were talking about, because when you're up where we are, it's you can't see as well because of the lighting and things like that. But I think that folks have every right and should be in here. So with us, and whether that's here, which I think will be logistically tough, even with the less restrictions, I think it would have to be planning to have them in the auditorium. Maybe it's the next 5 or 6 until something else happens as far as restrictions go.
So would an LGI be an option? I mean, I know it would depend, that would limit the number of people from the community that come. I don't know if that's possible with SLT and with us. That gives you a little bit of a space. I'm thinking of the one that's tiered somewhat.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to limit, I'm just trying to see, thinking that gives you a little bit
Large
more.
group instruction.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, in that one actually, so one of the huge advantages for me, because I've done some meetings in there, not board meetings, as far as that intimacy part that we were talking about, the lighting in there is so much better. So you can, if a speaker's speaking, it's way easier to see and communicate much better in the LGI that's over by, well, at least the one over by the auditorium. It would limit, but I think those two options I would very much like to have explored.
Yeah. Again, the LGI, or the old LGI, we call that 50, it
Yeah.
is not bigger than this space. So when it comes
Okay.
to, it's just trying to stuff everybody, even the board, in
Yeah.
the front part would completely fill that, and it's really not as big as you think. So the auditorium provides the greatest flexibility. There are other tools in there, Mr. Karpinski, correct, in terms of the sound system, et cetera. So there's a lot of opportunity to make it work there.
But I think we take a step back if we don't have the option to participate virtually as well, both for us as well as the community.
Oh,
I think we do. I think we need to have that as a
I
choice.
agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So it may, if I missed that, I just want to make sure that was.
No, I
was
hear
on
you.
there, yeah.
And we're ahead on that curve. I mean, it's the ability, flexibility, and I think seamlessness with which our public can participate. That doesn't happen at your township meetings. It really doesn't.
Frankly, I'm grateful that this accelerated because of COVID.
Sure.
Like, this has really been an awesome
Yeah.
thing, even at work, right? We take a step back there if we go back to this assumption we got to be in the office every day in person. No, we have some flexibility now. It's awesome. We can balance things more and can reach more people, which is awesome.
Sort of like a Red Star moment.
Sort of.
Yeah.
So then we look at it as well as we know what we're doing, and then it's the community is out in the seats, and then there are rules that we have to follow, whatever the I shouldn't say, but the guidelines that need to be followed, that the community needs to be made aware of, whether, with masking, if there's distancing that needs to be done, and that they follow that, so that we can conduct our business.
So at a minimum, I think the one thing I'll say, and I'll use tonight as an example, the committee meeting and some of our discussion, imagine just saying we're just going to be in the auditorium. That is a loss, an outright loss, unless we do expect a large number of attendees. So I don't know. I know you're saying, well, let's just do it and we'll open it up. But I wonder, I would recommend that we be more reactive with a certain amount of planning time. That our default would be to be here, try to figure out if there's a number. Because remember, in the summer, and maybe this is, we may not get that many attendees. I don't know what to expect. But unless we get notice, I would prefer to be here with a few people. That may be unrealistic in the short run, but.
Can I just add something? Because I also would like to see people in person, and I think we can tackle this in a few ways. For example, we can back work from this room if we know what are the current guidelines, how many people we could fit, and try to estimate how many people are interested in the meeting. I don't know how that worked before pandemic, because I only know that people were either watching the recorded meetings or they were just showing up, because there was always a limited capacity. Even before pandemic, there was, right? Mm-hmm. So one thing is trying to find a process to better estimate planned attendance. So maybe it's like a free day ahead of the board, there's some kind of sign up or some kind of participation, so we can manage it properly, and then decide. I don't know how many days in advance the administration would need to know the size of the room. But there's another thing. The format of the board meeting does not really change, even with the in-person attendance. And that's the thing that we need to say out loud, because we listen to the comments and the opinions, but we do not engage in the response right away. So that being here in person changes only that we are closer together, we see each other, and we can feel the emotions, but it's not gonna dramatically change the format of the meeting, right?
No.
We used to have the town halls meetings that were dedicated to specific issue that is of a public interest and public attention. Obviously, the town halls on personal matters will never be held, but if there is like a public interest around some specific area, that's another way to consider the gathering the input from the community.
I do think it matters, the charisma of the people who are speaking matters. It also matters the charisma of the board just in listening to what's being said, in that technology acts as a mediator of that and some ways obscures that, even with fantastic video and audio coverage.
Is that what that was earlier, Matt? Was that charisma?
I do.
Is that what charisma feels like? I'm joking.
I don't know.
No, but
I guess my point would be that may have gone differently had the person spoke in person, because they would see us and would look into your eye and try to say those things. And I think that matters.
But it's my understanding that we would still be able to live stream, correct? Because I do think there are people who are actively engaged and watching now that weren't before. People who have children, people who have, you know what I mean? I don't want to take away access to people. So I do think the live stream is a very important part of it.
I agree. Oh, totally, yeah. In fact,
yeah, that's a 100%er.
If we can make,
in my opinion. I mean, the live stream continues. It's just.
I mean, it's then that's why I wouldn't want to lose this part, right? Even before the football issue came up, before COVID, I mean, just to be able to do this, if we were charting attendance, we would see since we started to do this, people have been out there.
No doubt.
More people have been listening.
Well,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, I've heard this referred to as closed door meetings, and how do you improve your attendance if we're going to closed doors? I mean, this has never been more open and more participation. Let's bounce around. I think we'll want to address some of the logistics. I don't know the answer to the amount of time. I think it's probably more in the order of 7 days, not 3, to say that we're going to shift all this, but we'll sort of try to address that. We do have time. Our next meeting is on June 7th, so we'll be able to send some things out and around and figure out whether it's polling the community, sending an invitation out, as there is now that starts at noon today. This would potentially be earlier.
Mr. Stobner, he'll figure it out. He's MacGyver.
Sean
He'll figure it out.
Well, he's got the IT part. There's a lot of other moving parts if we've got to move to the.
Literally.
You know.
Well, I appreciate the praise. I also want to thank Mr. Karpinski and all the PRTV crew who really do the behind the curtain work to make it all work as well.
Well, we know they're the
Good
ones that are
point,
going to have to
Sean.
do
Good
the work if it goes elsewhere.
But Steve doesn't have a caricature like you do.
I can guarantee it's going to be 90 degrees outside and 110 under the lights the first night we hit the auditorium. That's all I can say, because that's how it always works. All right, thank you, everyone. And there was a change of time on the June 21st meeting. Let that not go unremarked. We did comment already, or a reminder, 10.06 of the workshop scheduled for July 12th, 2021, beginning at 5 p.m. And that's all for board business. Do any board members have any reports for the good of the order?
I have a couple. The first one is Parks and Rec at the Pine Parks. If you haven't been over there and you go over there now, they've done a lot of milling. They may have even started laying some pavement. They're paving a number of roads and also a number of trails. It'll be more handicap accessible. In general, less muddy. Not all the trails are being paved, but there's a number of them going on. So keep that in mind. There's going to be some work going on them for a little while yet, but it's going to be a great improvement. Second of all, I just need to talk about the community in general, and there's a lot of good things that happen in this community. I know we've focused on some negatives lately, but a great event that happened that some community members got together, and I know that the school is still sponsoring something for the seniors, but some parents got together and they put together what is being referred to as the Mum Prom, and it was a massive success. 200 plus students attended. My daughter was one of them, being a senior, and it was basically a prom that that community members just put together, and I can't thank them enough. And I know I'm going to miss some of them, but two of them that were instrumental were Jen Neal and Amy Turchek, and they did a fantastic job. I've got prom pictures of my daughter, the likes of which I wouldn't have been able to have except for the efforts of these folks, and it was an absolutely great event this weekend. So that was all community driven. There are a ton of great things happening in this community. It's a lot of great people in this community. So I just wanted to bring that event to the forefront because it was fantastic this weekend for the kids.
Yeah, I don't have anything for Prof tonight. They have a board meeting on Monday night on the 24th. So, and I gave a report last week on them. So,
I'll be honest, I never know what you guys want me to share, because you guys get the PSBA newsletters
Right.
and stuff like that. So if you ever want me to share stuff, let me know.
Well,
but-
curate it if there's something
Okay.
that, right?
Okay.
I mean, this, hey, you saw that, but
Okay, yeah, because I
so
always just, I feel like you guys get the newsletter sometimes, like, so I'll curate it. I can do that.
yeah, let us. I mean, there is stuff that comes through, and there's especially the legislative stuff.
Right. And even for the public to hear, or for the community to hear.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll do that then. I always just wonder because you guys got the newsletter, but I'll do that.
Sure.
At the Allegheny Intermediate Unit, I wanted to elevate Frank Cartazzo, school director from South Allegheny School District, and Christine Minnick from Deer Lake School District, who are newly elected to our board. They will begin serving in July. Two more board members, Mr. Len Fernello from South Fayette and Roger Tashwar from Clairton, were reelected. But it's great to have new faces when they join you. And why July? The AAU just likes to make it complicated. So, but fantastic and welcome to them. We look forward to working with them and returning to in-person meetings ourselves in June, hopefully. We've taken advantage and actually had some work done down there as well at the same time. So we've kind of stretched it out a little bit, but we should be returning this June to in-person meetings at the IU as well. Any other reports?
Yeah, just real quick, updates on athletic and activity health and safety plan. As promised, anytime there's modifications that we learn of, we want to get the plan updated for the community because that impacts our recommendations for events that are coming up. So gathering limits have been modified as of today, May 17th. Right now it's 50% for indoor activities, 75% for outdoor activities. So all the table information is now updated and some examples of what that could look like at the stadium. That obviously impacts things like graduation, senior recognition, and other events that we are planning. We've already started communicating with our families about increased opportunities to participate. We have heard that at the end of May that's going to be modified again, and that obviously will impact us, but just want to keep everybody updated. We do ask communities still to drive to this health and safety plan because we posted on the website, and as we're getting, which is great, more and more requests for use of facilities over the summer, we're still using that to build these plans as a reference. So we have to still consider physical distancing and other mitigation efforts, but that'll be posted as of tomorrow. Tomorrow's primary election day, so we also put out a reminder to the community about busiest times at the high school because we do have school tomorrow, students will be here. So really that we said about 7:15 to 8 o'clock is very busy. So I think we put out 7 to 8 just to let community members know if you do come to vote at that time, that's when students and parents are coming into school. And then about 2:15 to 3 for dismissal time's real busy. So just to keep everybody safe, we're going to have plenty of staff and support around for both the community and our students. But that's always something that we like to put out there as a reminder whenever we have voting going on here on campus.
So a question based on what you just said. The graduation, typically what would attendance be? Do we know roughly? Because I know we're now at 8 per student, which is going to give us roughly, 2,500 people if 8 showed? Is that, that's not at the 50%. Are we looking at increasing that? I don't even know. I don't know if it's typically more than that. It seems like a ton of people. It seems like the stadium's full when I'm there. But I don't know. Is that possibly going to go up from the 8 per student?
That's where we are right now. As we get closer, that's kind of, we said, we would keep people updated if that can be modified from there. So we'll continue to do that. Almost on a weekly basis, we're putting up graduation and senior updates, so we'll continue to do that.
Okay, thanks.
Any other reports? Ms. Williams, do we have anyone in the waiting room to address the board? We do not. All right, being no further business for the board will adjourn to an executive session to discuss personnel and potential litigation matters. Have a good evening, everyone.